So it's a newness, okay, what we call as innovation, etc., initiative, right? So that's the DNA of a startup, right? We are full of energy of doing something fundamentally different. Now, when you look at the person who does it, the entrepreneur per se, right? He's a person actually fundamentally is a thinker. Just now we talked about he's an idea generator. Yes, he thinks about an idea. So first he's a thinker, then he's a decision maker. He decides to do, and there is a long list of to do, and there's a long list of not to do also, depending on the failure and success. And the third thing, which is very important, is the person concerned commits ki this is the thing I'll be doing. Henceforth, this is what my portfolio, come what may, right? Sometimes we may get disgusted, sometimes we may get demotivated, sometimes we get sort of pulled down by family members, friends, or whatever. But this commitment, sometimes we call it as an idiosyncratic commitment, maybe, but this is something which keeps the startup going on, right? So there are three fundamental things which I'm going to refer time and again. The thinking part of it, the cognitive part of it, the taking a decision to do it, and the third thing is getting it done every day, every moment. I think these are the three fundamental premise on which a typical entrepreneur works. We have discussed about value of death. So basically, I'm going to discuss the top part of it. I'm not going to discuss the initiative part of it. So because we are talking about scale up and growth. So basically, what I'm submitting here, when we think about scale up and growth, I think the entrepreneur, the person, has to think to deal with transition. And I'm going to talk about transition. So basically, we'll have to change something to something else. So what are those changes? I'm going to discuss a little bit more on that. The first is you have been an individual to start an enterprise, right? So you have been an entrepreneur, right? So that's your first role. So that's the first thing which normally we are used to of doing every day. But what is important is when we look at this transition, and here the conflict starts, actually here the problem starts in terms of scaling up and growth. So there are three fundamental roles I'm referring to: entrepreneurial role, the newness role, the innovation, doing the things, etc. Then there comes the managerial role. How do the things rolling, right? How do you source the material? How you pack it? How do you do supply chain? How do you do accounting? How do you do the sales? How do you sort of listens to the complaints of customer will be shouting at you, what is this you guys are doing, blah blah blah, all these things, right? How you pitch your idea, how you meet people, etc. So the doing part of the routines, managerial work is very routine, to be very honest, maybe boring for many of you, but nevertheless we'll have to do it to keep the show going on. The third role is strategics. Okay, when you think that we need to grow, it's not you alone, you have a team, to motivate, right? You have a team of scientists, you have a team of marketer, you have a team of investor, account keeper, and many things, supply chain guys, right? So we'll have to sort of work with them. So how do you lead them? That's the third role which we are looking for. These roles are not distinctly different at any point of time. Maybe you will be doing all the three roles, but at certain part of your entrepreneurial journey, one role dominates over the other. But nevertheless, other roles are also equally important. So I think this is the first transition which we need to sort of get tuned to. How do you manage entrepreneurial role, managerial role, and strategist role? Sometimes we are not equipped to take up all the three roles, doesn't matter. So that's my first advice. If you think that you're not cut for taking up all the three roles, don't worry, don't feel worried about it. Hire somebody who will take managerial role, hire somebody who can do the CEO role. Okay, don't think that you are the one who will have to change the world. You can create a team which complementary capability. You need a finance guy, investment guy, somebody like that, right? So don't worry if you think that all the three roles are not for you. You take up the role which you think you are cut for, right? And do it precisely, do it diligently, do it honestly, right? So first thing is think about yourself. How much ready you are to take the transition on the roles, okay? And I repeat again, if you think that you cannot take up all the three roles, don't worry. Look at right kind of people to be a part of your team. So I'll just do a little bit of straightforward jumping. So I think what is probably critical for us at this point of time to think what could be our leadership role, how we can dissociate a little bit, at least we can start practicing it. Okay, so how you set up the systems and process. When system and process becomes important, you as a person become less important, right? Are you willing to let this ego go off, right? I think that's the difficult part of it, right? You have to let off some ego part going. okay, so that the systems and process will be taken care of. For example, simple thing, right? Till you were one man show, nobody could question on what head you will spend the money, right? But if you suppose you are a 30% company or 50% or 100% company, right? Now you have set up the process and systems, and you said, I can travel only by taxi, not by XYZ mechanism, right? Now somebody who will scrutinize your bill and say, yes, you have exceeded your bill. Now this needs these kind of approvals, right? I'm just giving a very simple but everyday example through which our authority may get questioned, because you have system and processes to question you, right? Are you willing to be questioned? I think that's a larger question we need to answer ourselves. There's no right and wrong answer. What I'm saying, it's about a thinking part of it. Now, moving forward, what is important is you're following the routine. You're doing everything fantastic, right? You're growing. Your sales is growing. Your top line is growing. You're improving your profitability. You're improving your efficiency. Your market visibility has improved. That's fine. But the question is, don't be complacent. There would be some competitors who is watching you. In strategic management language, we call them as stragglers. There are smart people who are just observing you. Let this guy commit a mistake and then I will learn from his mistake. Because everybody is learning from the system, right? Don't get worried about them. Don't feel frightened about them. But you keep thinking that how you can actually identify your unique settings. So you have to move forward, right? Yeah, we just had an example of Gen Robotics, right? So it's not enough to have only one product. How do I maybe encash on the technology and move to the next product? I think how you can stay a little ahead of rest of others. I think that is the question which all of us have to ask ourselves, right? So you will see this is a continuous circle, and every day we'll have to question ourselves on these things. And that's how you can think about growth. Don't worry if VCs are not excited about this journey. Okay, first be comfortable yourself, okay, whether you are able to answer this. So what is important for this is develop an insight. I'm using the word insight. I'm not using the word market analysis, right? I'm using the word insight, your insight, right? You can have mentors, you can have friends, you can have experts associated with you, right? And please ask this question, what can be done in the market? Considering the external environment, just now we had enough discussion on the regulatory environments, particularly from the diagnostic space, right? Good and bad both, right? There are some challenges, but there are a lot of good things about it, right? And so there could be two ways of doing it. Maybe one is environment is not supportive. Environment is, if I use the word hostile, right? Okay, so one is you just give up and say nothing can be done. That's one way of doing it. Second is, can I influence the environment? Can I do something by which I can go and raise something and say, hey, this can be done? Most of the entrepreneurs do the second thing, right? They don't give up, right? If India is not favorable, can I go to Europe? And that's what we have been discussing, right? Can I come from the Europe route? Should I give up or should I take it over a different route? So I think the first thing is, what makes your product and services feasible? Okay, one is feasibility given to you, ready-made, or you make the situation favorable to you. I think you make the situation favorable is more an entrepreneurial way of looking into feasibility, right? I'm not talking about the market alone. It's the investment, it's supply chain. There are a lot of trade restrictions. You may import some product, you may not be able to import some products, and so on and so forth, right? When I say feasibility, I'm referring to the entire external environment. Having done that, what is that? You develop your own capability. When I use the word capability, it's not only you alone, you and your team, right? So what need to be done within the enterprise to make the environmental favorable? That's the question I'm asking, right? And can we create a favorable? So what do we need to do, right? So those are all questions which is internally to be answered. Not necessarily you will have to answer them alone. Maybe you can have a set of your advisors and mentor to guide you on that. I think that's where the ecosystem matters the most. And maybe on the technology side, academic institutions, R&D labs, these are the people who may help us to guide us. So precisely I'm saying, when we think about growth or scale up, I think these are the two things we'll have to keep moving, either from feasibility to capability or from capabilities to feasibility, right? When you think that it's feasible, then go and do it, the capability part of it. If you think that you can do more, but the environment is not feasible, go and do something on that. So we'll have to actually keep jumping from one end to other end, and that's what the dynamic environment of enterprise system which we are talking about, okay, which need to be done. So just to give a little framework thing, just to make the things little sort of structured, there are 4 things which we are referring to. All of us are extremely good so far as this environment is concerned. the startup mission is concerned, Makers Village is concerned, we are working on technology, okay, or product technology, maybe process technology, or maybe system technology, right, where we integrate product and processes. So we are doing that part of it. What need to be looked into parallelly, which have been said before, right? Look at the market, whether the market exists or you need to create a market. Okay, so seamlessly connect technology and market. Technology as a market actually have two guiding rails of any startup. Okay, these are the two rails on which the whole train moves, right? So don't lose a track of the market. Technology is needed, but if market is not existing, you'll have to do something about it. Either you chase the market or you create a market, whichever way it is possible, right? Say if market and technology are kind of talking to each other, if they sort of connect with each other, you look for a value chain. Okay, the entire value chain, right from sourcing the material, testing it, sort of fabrication or manufacturing, then whatever, right? The entire supply chain, packaging, delivery, everything, right? The entire value chain. I'm not using the word supply chain here because it may have little wider implication. That's what I'm using the word value chain, but you can replace it with supply chain also. So again, if it is existing, take advantage of that. If it is not existing, probably you'll have to invest on that. Probably these are the occasions when we need to talk to the investors. When we talk to the investors, I think these are the areas investors may get interested. When you're talking, here is an opportunity, market is good, technology exists, I have done it, right? But what is missing is this piece, value chain. If I invest in creating value chain, then makes the story feasible. Maybe this could be another way to talk to the investors when we meet them, right? And at the end of the day, everybody is interested in finance, okay? And of course, I'm using the resource and finance together, but nevertheless, whether it is exist or whether we need to have it, right? So at any point of time, if we keep eye on all the three things, and these are equilateral triangle, all the sides are equal, right? No one is smaller, right? We'll have to deal with all of them together, not one at a time. If you think that you're not equipped to think all the three together, please seek advice, please seek mentorship, and you can talk to anybody else whom you think you can rely on to sort of as a sounding board, who can give you some thoughts, some ideas how to work upon that, right? So these are the four pieces I would do that. And when I talk about capability pointers, probably I'll talk first you, whether you are capable, okay, you and your founding team, right? And what is important as you become capable, you as an organization, are you capable, right? I think rest of it can be followed. How do you source technology? How do you source machine? I think those are the things one can work around. So the question is your capability, your strength, right? Your way of doing things, your enthusiasm, your energy, your knowledge, everything is important. So I think I'll just skip this part. What is important for us to think about scale up is basically create an ambitious plan. I think it's all creating something which is others think not creatable, right? I think that's where we come from, right? So can we design a strategic and ambitious direction, right? So when we talk about scale and growth, I think the scale and growth has to come from you, not from the market per se. Market will follow. If market doesn't exist, you can create market. That's my belief. But the question is, for whom you are scaling, why you are scaling. Is it that the investor is sitting on your head and say that please increase your manufacturing capability and your valuation will go up? Or you think that this is scalable proposition? Do you think there is enough to do in this space? Do you think there is a possibility of export? Do you think that there is a possibility of diversification with the same technology you can apply in multiple disciplines and create a valuable enterprise? I think that the first question all of us have to answer ourselves first, right? Then the second thing is, what if this opportunity exists? What is your aspiration? How do you see yourself, right? What do you aspire, right? What is your aspirational? How you can dream yourself, right? How do you position yourself? That's very fundamental. Unless we have an aspirational statement for us, believe me, your enterprise cannot have aspirations. You will have to aspire to do something which is very encouraging and different. And then question comes, how do you develop business model, etc. And one can talk about business model differently. So I just skip this part to make the things little sort of seamless. At any point of time, when we talk about scale up, growth, when we talk about creating a business, right? Believe me, every moment you are dealing with a complexity. I've just listed out some items here. There could be more than this, right? At any point of time, so of course you're in the technology space, right? You're considering policy and regulation, which we have been discussing quite a lot in this session. We are dealing with market and consumer. Okay, market has its own preference, market has its own need. Saji was saying, what does your patient want? He want to get up and do his routine, as simple as that. It doesn't care which technology you are using, right? So what is consumer's view? What is market's view? Who is the user? Who is getting affected by this? That's a market thing. Credit and investment, we have discussed quite a bit, right? And what is looking for, can you think about agile supply chain? Maybe we can you can consult some experts, how they can ask you to, how they can advise you to cut down your operation cost and do the things little smartly, efficiently, right? How you can have short products life cycle, how we can have, so because any product which you are manufacturing, reaching the customer is making money, right? If it is manufactured and staying with you, you're not making money, right? All of us must have a view towards our supply chain, how you can convert your product into cash as quickly as possible. That's the agile or smart supply chain I'm referring to. And all of us have to think about it. Otherwise, the enterprise will not become sustainable. And so on, geopolitical environment and cultural norms, etc., etc. So what is critical is when we talk about strategic scale up. Okay, this is my last 2 minutes of thinking you. I'm heavily inspired by Edison's story, how basically from bulb to creating business. All of us know about GE was actually set up by Edison. Edison is one of the most talked about and respected scientists, but there are a lot of stories behind him. So I'll just take 2 minutes to narrate the story and close the discussion and leave some thoughts for you. So all of us know about Edison for his bulb. All of us know that he did it, okay, in 1879. All of us know that he got a patent for it, rightly so, okay. But if you read this statement, you will see, please pay attention to the underlined words. You must have seen this slide before also if I had done a session for you. His invention is actually commercially practical lamp. His invention is not that he did it for the first time. He did it for the first time to give a confidence that this is commercial, there is a viability possible, it can be commercialized. And that's why we talk about Edison more. Not that he was the first one to do it, right? And so on, right? So what is critical is, you look at Edison's story, Edison didn't go and set up a bulb manufacturing factory, okay, to begin with. He invested in setting up a power generation company in 1882. He invested in power generation. So the question of ecosystem being favorable, he invested on ecosystem, the thing which I was referring to, you make it favorable. So that's what investment was all about. So he invested in setting up a power generation company to make electricity available so that bulb will have a future, right? So he said, okay, fine, bulb is not a lighting device, let me perfect the bulb to make it safe for everyone so that you get a lighting which is safe enough. And the bulb was positioned as safe lighting device. We just heard that don't worry if you have to pivot your idea. Precisely this is the pivoting the idea case. So bulb was never understood or appreciated by the customer as a better lighting device. It was appreciated by the customer because it was a safe lighting device, right? So there are cases when we'll have to sort of work around these kind of concepts and get something which is important, right? So the question which I'm leaving before you, or the thought which I'm leaving before you, is basically when we think about growth, when we think about scale up, it is not about getting an investor in and just blowing up yourself. The question is your readiness. There are 2-3 transitions I referred to. Your transition from being an entrepreneur to being a manager to being a strategist, that's one. Then your transition being a solo man or being a single man show to being an enterprise where you will have to give up a lot of your ego, a lot of your power. That's the second thing. And the third thing which I ask you to do that, if you have your technology and market story relevant, I think then comes the doing part of it. So before you go to investor and seek for their support or fund, okay, create a market and technology story seamlessly connected so that you have a right kind of story to tell them that this is where if investment comes, it makes a financially viable proposition. I think these are the core message which I thought should be our way forward. Again, I'm saying we are not interested in to tell you how to write a pitch deck. Pitch deck we can read. If you narrate the story seamlessly, that's what pitch deck is all about. And there are formats and formats in Google. You can pick up any one of them. But I think this insightful thinking, this reflective thinking on the enterprise, what you want to scale about, why you should scale about, why you should grow, where you should grow, is the story which all of us to find answers for us. So I thank you for this gathering, particularly Maker Village, and find very interesting to be a part of you. I congratulate the graduating batch. We have met online several times, and I welcome the new batch and look forward to have great stories, great entrepreneurial story from all of you. Thank you very much.